I know what you're thinking. Why is he wearing the hood? Today I'm going to be talking about chivalry medieval warfare. We're going to be talking about the lifespan, the life and death of this game. For many who do not know, this game was released on the PlayStation and Xbox 360 a few years after it was released initially on the computer. And what this game pretty much saw was a cash grab, life and death situation, and we're going to be talking about how that really happened and what really caused that. And I believe there are 5 key main events that really made this game go overboard, and we'll go over that. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so the first stage is, of course, birth. When this game was initially released, there was a lot of hype behind it.
Now, the reason why this game was so hyped in the first place was because in 2014, the consoles didn't really have too great of melee slasher games. The only games you could really play out there are really Dark Souls or some other kind of slasher game that you've fucking seen before. And so when this game started to come out and started to be released, people got really, really excited that a new type of game was coming to the systems. The market was just oversaturated and overproduced with first-person shooters and team-based squad-type shooters, just all kinds of different shooters. There wasn't really any kind of variety in gameplay. So when this game was announced, a lot of people were ready for this game to come out. You know, for some reason, I cannot stress how hyped people were when they found out this game was being released on the consoles. You only really saw this game on the computer or on Steam or something like that. You never saw something like this being ever ported over. So when it actually got ported over, people were were so excited that so many people immediately bought the game and was promised dedicated servers, a lot of different, maps and DLC coming ahead. So there was a lot promised for a lot of us who were excited for the game, which really in the end made us, choose the game and wanted to play it in the first place. So as launch day comes around, the servers were flooded with new kinds of people trying to experience Chivalry for the first time. So many people who haven't played it for the first time were trying to test out the weapons, trying out everything, admiring the gameplay, the environment and its design. People were meeting new people. People were being honorable in their fights. There wasn't a whole lot of unfairness going on. People really appreciated the fairness that other people gave each other. So that's what really gave the community a wholeness to the whole game, because a lot of people were honorable about their fights and about their games. And so when it was first released, this is when it was all great. It was all great until people started to abuse the system.
Alright, so since that first stage is over with, it is time for stage 2. The teenage years. There's a good reason why I call this teenage years, and here's why.
Now, after some time, just like any video game, the Chivalry went through what I like to call the teenage year or the teenage cycle. It's pretty much when the point of a video game that is just recently new starts to reach the second level of competitiveness, where the players start to actually develop their own play style. They start to recognize the mechanics of the game, starting to see the faults and the cons, all the good stuff and the bad stuff, and they really start to make their own strategy from it. And really what that entails is gankingness, a lot of dishonorable stuff, a lot of things that really benefit the player's own way, or when the player notices that a weapon does more damage than the other one, or one swings faster than the other one, and they'll start to develop this strategy where they want to use the most OP weapon, or they want to do something that's just would benefit them and not really kind of have like this whole good fairness, fun, exciting, game round you would have. Instead, you get a huge fuckfest from people, and that's what really this game started to develop right after um, the game was released. You know, Now, I know a lot of games go through this type of scenario where the players start to really abuse the game, but the one particular thing that Chivalry had was when you swing a weapon, or when you did a primary attack and you move your cursor or you move your crosshairs across the screen, you could do a full 180 swing. Okay, and that could pretty much hit all sides in front of you, and a lot of players were really um, starting to really see that this glitch, or this sort of this broken mechanic in game really benefits a lot of people. So not really much right away, but after a while, people started to see these sort of mechanics in game and how it really faults the game. And unfortunately, they took that to their advantage. Instead of having a fun, fair game and having newcomers be really welcomed into this sort of game, they were met with claymoring, fucking 180 spins, stabbed to the face, and teabags to the face. Overall, at this point in the game's life cycle, the game isn't really too bad. If you're generally good enough and you have a good squad of people, or at least someone that really help you out with, you do pretty average. You didn't really fail at too much of anything. You would have a good round at this stage. At least people who played this game didn't really take advantage of the game to its fullest extent. So at this point, when you're playing the game, you're at least having some fun, and you had some pretty good gaming session nights that you would have, let's say, with any other game. So at this point, the game is all right.
So this is where the state of the game reached its full peak, or I like to call it the adulthood stage of the game.
Now, the moment that this game reached adulthood is when it was ported over to the PlayStation 4. Before, the game was only on PS3 and Xbox 360, and as the new PlayStation and the new consoles were coming out, new content and new games were released, a lot of people felt that this game wasn't really being a lot of updated and wasn't really getting new content, so a lot of people were really making the switch over to PlayStation 4, leaving this game in the dust. Now, fortunately for this game, Torn Banner or Sony, whoever decided to port it over this game, ported it over to the PlayStation Network, and a lot of the people who previously bought the game already had the game purchased, and so they just re-downloaded the game. Or the people who were such fans of the games or previous players of the game re-bought the game again. So after it was ported over, the game has finally reached its full potential. The game was thriving with players. The gamer count was steady. There was plenty of people, and you could pretty much just jump into any match that you wanted to at any point in time. A lot of people were creating clans, creating groups, creating forums to talk and create a lot of stuff. It was a cool little community that people made together. Even though some of it was quite cancerous, most of the time people did relatively a good job staying a team or just staying friendly and having a good community.
Now this is when things start to go terribly, terribly bad, and this is when the game started to develop a sickness, a terminal illness, if you so imagine.
Like I said before, a lot of people started to really see how broken the mechanics can be, and they really started to abuse it. Before, like when the game was initially released, or let's say after a year or so after the game was released, the badness of it wasn't really that bad. But it started to really develop in its later years as players who bought the game initially started to become veteran players. That's when they started to really take advantage and really abuse the system. There was just a lot of gankiness. There was a lot of cancerous talk, or just negative talk, a lot of hurtful talk, just typical stuff you would find on online games. But it was more notorious and more personal because for some reason people took this game personally, and they felt like doing this sort of thing would make them feel better in game. So the reason why I call this sort of attitude or personality as cancerous is because it really started to affect the other players. When people started to really realize how you can get cheap kills and how you can kill pretty much a person in 2 hits with the piece of metal on the metal blade on a fucking wooded stick can kill you in 1 hit, it really started to make the other players go, well, they're fucking killing me doing ballerina dances. Why am I sitting here trying to do frontal attacks or side swipe or trying to flank or try to block and attack this dude while this dude is throwing 3 swings at me and I'm only blocking 2 of them and he's pretty much just instantly killing me. So it really affected the other players, and it really gave you a disadvantage if you tried to play fairly, if you tried to play honorably, and a lot of the times it was really just your ass. Another thing that people really started to abuse was the vote system. Now you could vote for any kind of map, or you could vote to kick any sort of person, and this is a good idea. You can vote for what you want or what you want to do, but the main problem was there was no limitation on how many votes or how many fucking kicks you can do. When this game was in its fucking goddamn terminal illness stage, there were so many fucking vote kicks and so many different vote changes. Each goddamn map, your screen was cluttered with fucking notes and press this button, do this, do you want to kick this fucker? No, goddamn it, I don't want to kick this dude. It's just so irritating that so many people would just throw up these vote signs and just throw up these other shit. It was really fucking stupid. It was like getting a pop-up ad on your fucking computer. Who wants that?
Now, some may argue that this type of abuse isn't really enough to really kill off a game or really stop a community from really playing the game. But one thing I really forgot to mention was the result of the cancerous clans that were produced from this type of game. Now, for some reason, whenever somebody got trolled in this game or got beaten whenever they didn't want to get beaten, or for whatever reason that they got beaten at, there were certain people that I knew that I've seen reacted so goddamn fucking personally. It was just insane. You wouldn't imagine someone really freaking out over something in a video game like this, particularly in a game like this. But a lot of the times, whenever something was really negative or someone didn't really like someone in this game, they went to great lengths to try to humiliate or really try to prove themselves that they were better than that person by doing a duel or doing some sort of fight that really causes the other person that I don't know, it was really just a lot of nonsense and a lot of immaturity between people. People would just cause a lot of rivalries and really made people band against one another, and really drove the community apart, which led to a lot of people falling off and really led to certain individuals gain power which really shouldn't really have power in the first place, and which really weakened the community in the end as well. So what generally happened with the clans was the remaining players of the game were really falling into groups that they were really wanting to play in. A lot of people played this game really wanted to play with their friends, so a lot of times a bunch of friends would join a clan, and then that clan will play against another clan or do whatever, yada yada. So really towards the end of the game, where the game really started to die off, a lot of the players were really cancerous towards one another, which really led to one asshole creating a clan full of other assholes trying to fucking kill another group of assholes who all take the game way too seriously. So eventually it really led to people not wanting to play the game and not really wanting to experience this sort of fucking this fuckery really going on inside the game. So which really led to a lot of people stop playing, and then eventually led those fuckers stop playing the game as well.
And with that, just like every terminal illness, comes death. Death is what inevitably followed this game right after the cancerous clans, the negative comments, and all the hate-filled fucking rage that this game has caused people to really unleash onto other people. So, unfortunately, with that, Chivalry Medieval Warfare on the PlayStation has died, and there's nothing that's gonna bring it back. So I think it's time that we do something that has been long overdue. And now's the time.
Well, that's the end of Chivalry.